Hello, friends. Today we are going to start one of the most iconic stories in the world of literature, Homer's The Odyssey. This is not just an adventure, it is a journey of human endurance, fate, and family. Today, we will deeply analyze Book 1, titled The Gods in Council, Minerva's Visit to Ithaca, and the challenge from Telemachus to the suitors. The story begins with the classic epic tradition, the invocation of the Muse. The narrator or poet requests the Muse, who is the goddess of inspiration, to tell him the story of that ingenious hero who wandered far and wide after sacking the famous town of Troy. Here we are talking about Ulysses, whom we also call Odysseus. The text tells us that Ulysses visited many cities and understood the manners and customs of different nations. He suffered greatly on the sea to save his life and to bring his companions back home. But the narrator reveals a tragic detail right at the beginning. No matter how hard he tried, Ulysses could not save his men or crew. Why? Because of their own folly or their own stupidity. They had eaten the cattle of the sun god Hyperion. In return, the god made their return home impossible. Now the situation is that all those who survived the war of Troy have reached their homes. Only Ulysses is alone, who has neither reached home nor died. He is in the captivity of goddess Calypso. Calypso wants to marry him and has kept him detained in her cave. Years passed, and finally the time came when the gods decided that Ulysses should now go back to his home Ithaca. But the trouble was not over yet. All the gods on Ulysses were pitying him except one, and that was Neptune, or Poseidon. Neptune hated Ulysses intensely and was continuously persecuting him so that he could never reach home. The story shifts to Mount Olympus. Fortunately, at that time, Neptune was not on Olympus. According to the text, Neptune had gone to the Ethiopians who live at one end of the world, there to enjoy a hecatomb of sheep and oxen, meaning sacrificed animals at some festival. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the other gods gather at the house of Jove. Jove, who is the sire or father or king of gods and men, speaks first. Jove's mood is a bit philosophical. He's thinking about Aegisthus. Here, it is important to understand the context. Aegisthus had an affair with Agamemnon's wife and then killed Agamemnon. In revenge, Agamemnon's son, Orestes, killed Aegisthus. Jove tells the other gods, "Look, humans always blame us gods for their troubles, but the truth is that they suffer pain because of their own stupidity." Jove gives an example that we had even warned Aegisthus by sending Mercury or Hermes not to kill Agamemnon, otherwise Orestes would take revenge when he grew up. But Aegisthus did not listen, and now he has paid his price. At this moment, Minerva speaks. Minerva is the biggest supporter of Ulysses. She says to Jove, "Father, what Aegisthus got was right. Whoever does that should meet the same fate. But my heart cries for Ulysses." Minerva tells that Ulysses is stuck on a lonely island where the daughter of Atlas or Calypso lives. Calypso uses all kinds of sweet talk or blandishments so that Ulysses forgets his home, Ithaca. But Ulysses' condition is that he is ready to die just to see smoke rising from his home's chimney once. Minerva also emotionally blackmails Jove. She says, "Ulysses made so many sacrifices for you in Troy, then why are you so angry with him?" Jove replies, "Child, what are you talking about? How can I forget Ulysses? He is the wisest among mortals." But the problem is Neptune. Jove explains that Neptune is angry because Ulysses blinded his son Polyphemus, who is a cyclops. Therefore, Neptune is not killing him, but not letting him go home either, just making him wander in the sea. But now Jove agrees. He says that if we all gods decide together, then Neptune will not be able to do anything alone. The plan is formed that Mercury will be sent to the Ogygian island to order Calypso to release Ulysses, and Minerva herself will go to Ithaca so that she can inspire Ulysses' son, Telemachus. Minerva turns on her action mode. She wears her golden sandals, which give her the power to fly fast like the wind. She picks up her powerful bronze short spear and lands straight down in Ithaca from Olympus. Upon reaching Ithaca, Minerva changes her appearance. She becomes a stranger, Mentes, who is the king of the Taphians. She stands at the gate of Ulysses' house. The scene here is very disturbing. Minerva sees that Ulysses' house is full of suitors, those people who want to marry Ulysses' wife, Penelope. These suitors are sitting on hides of oxen, the skins of the very bulls they have killed and eaten from Ulysses' house. They are playing draughts. Servants are hovering around them, mixing wine and cleaning tables. Basically, these people are looting Ulysses' house and partying. Telemachus, Ulysses' son, is sitting there, but he is very sad, moody. He is thinking about his father, imagining that I wish his father would return and throw all these suitors out of the house. Suddenly, Telemachus spots Minerva or Mentes standing at the gate. In that era, xenia or hospitality was very important. Telemachus feels ashamed that a stranger has been standing at the gate for so long and no one has welcomed him. He runs to him, holds his hand, takes his spear, and says, "Welcome to our house. First have some food, then tell us what business brings you here." Telemachus leads Minerva inside. He places her spear in a stand where Ulysses' old spears were kept. He seats Minerva on a decorated seat and sits himself a bit away from her, separate from the suitors so that the noise does not disturb the stranger. A maid brings water for washing hands. Other servants bring bread and meat. The suitors also come in and start eating and drinking heartily. When they have finished eating, they demand music and dance. Phemius, who is a bard or singer, is forced to sing. When the music starts, Telemachus quietly speaks to Minerva or Mentes, leaning his head close to her so that no one can hear. Telemachus's pain is reflected here. He says, "Look at these people. They love music and singing because it's free. They are wasting the wealth of the man whose bones might be rotting on some unknown shore." Telemachus says that if Ulysses returned, these suitors would pray for longer legs to run away rather than for money. He believes that his father will never come back, no matter what people say. Then Telemachus asks the stranger, "Who are you? Where do you come from? Are you my father?" Friend Minerva reveals her fake identity. She says, "I am Mentes, son of Anchialus and king of the Taphians. I was passing by here with my ship. I was going to Temesi, taking iron to bring back copper." Minerva lies that her ship is anchored in the harbor far from the city. She also says that their fathers were old friends. Telemachus can confirm this from his grandfather Laertes. Minerva also speaks about Laertes, saying that he does not come to the city anymore, but lives alone in the village in sorrow with an old woman who cooks his food. Then Minerva comes to the main point. She says, "I thought your father had returned. That is why I came. But it seems the gods have still detained him. But listen, Ulysses is not dead. He is alive. He is imprisoned on an island in the middle of the sea, perhaps among savages or wild people." Minerva makes a prophecy, although she says that she is not a prophet. "I assure you he will not stay away for long. He is so clever or resourceful that even if he were bound in iron chains, he would still find a way to escape." Then Minerva looks closely at Telemachus and says, "You look exactly like Ulysses, the same eyes, the same head." Telemachus's answer is very famous. He says, "My mother says I am his son, but it is a wise child that knows his own father. That child is very wise who knows for sure who his father is. I wish I were the son of a man who grew old peacefully on his estate. But I have been told that I am the son of the most unlucky or ill-starred man in the world." Minerva changes the topic and asks, "What is all this going on? Is this feast a wedding? Why are these guests behaving so rudely or atrociously?" Telemachus explains that as long as Ulysses was there, everything was fine. Now that he is missing, so all the chiefs from the nearby islands, Dulichium, Same, Zacynthus, and Ithaca, have come to marry his mother Penelope. Penelope neither says yes nor says no, and in this process, these people are devouring his house. Soon they will kill me too. Telemachus gets scared. Minerva shows anger. You truly need Ulysses. If he stood at the door today with his helmet, shield, and 2 lances, then these suitors' marriage would turn into a sorry wedding. But then Minerva gives Telemachus an action plan. These are very specific instructions. Call an assembly. Call all the Achaean heroes or citizens to the assembly tomorrow morning and present your case, making the gods your witnesses. Kick out the suitors. Tell them to go to their respective homes. As for the decision about your mother, if Penelope wants to marry, send her to our father or Telemachus's grandfather's house. From there, a proper marriage will be arranged. Set out on a journey, the quest. Most importantly, Telemachus has to take a good ship with 20 oarsmen and go to get news of his father. First go to Pylos and meet King Nestor. Then go to Sparta and meet King Menelaus because he returned last. Decision making. If news is found that Ulysses is alive, then endure for 1 more year. If news is found that he is dead, then come back, perform his funeral, get your mother married, and then plan to kill the suitors. Minerva challenges Telemachus. You are not a child anymore. Leave childhood behind. Have you not heard how much Orestes is praised because he killed his father's murderer? You are smart, you are strong. Do something so that the world remembers you. Telemachus feels inspired. He says, you have spoken like a father. I will listen to you. Please stay for a while. Take a bath. I want to give you a precious gift. Minerva refuses and says she will take the gift on her way back. Saying this, she flies away into the air like a bird. In that moment, Telemachus realizes that he was no ordinary human, but a god. Courage fills him. Telemachus goes back to the suitors. Bard Phemius is still singing. He is singing the sad tale of the return from Troy. Penelope, who was upstairs in her room, hears this song and comes down. She cries and scolds Phemius. There are so many other songs of gods and heroes. Sing those. Do not sing this sad song. It reminds me of my husband. Here we see Telemachus' new form for the first time. He silences his mother. Mother, do not blame the bard. The bard does not give sorrow. Jove or Zeus gives it. And Ulysses is not the only one who is not returned. Go to your room, do your work, order the servants for the loom and distaff. Speaking is the work of men, and mostly mine because I am the master of this house. Penelope is left amazed, wondering. She sees her son's new maturity. She quietly goes back and cries until Minerva puts her to sleep. Now Telemachus turns towards the suitors. He says, "Shameful suitors, eat peacefully for now, but meet in the assembly tomorrow morning. I will give you notice to leave my house. If you keep sponging here, then Jove will settle the score with you, and you will all die right here, and there will be no one to take revenge." The suitors bite their lips. They cannot believe where Telemachus got such courage from. Antinous, who is the leader of the suitors, taunts, "It seems the gods have taught you tall talking. I pray that Jove never makes you the king of Ithaca." Telemachus answers fearlessly. Being a king is not a bad thing. It brings honor and wealth. If Ulysses is dead, there are other kings in Ithaca, but I will certainly be the master of my own house. Another suitor, Eurymachus, tries to be a little polite and asked who that stranger was. Did he bring any news of your father? Telemachus has become wise now. He does not reveal his secret. He says, "My father is dead. I no longer rely on rumors. That stranger was just Mentes, my father's old friend. although in his heart he knew that she was a goddess. Night falls. The suitors go to their own homes to sleep. Telemachus goes to his room, which is built in a high tower. Eurycleia walks ahead of him carrying torches. Eurycleia is the same nurse who has raised him since childhood. The text tells us that Laertes, Telemachus's grandfather, bought Eurycleia when she was young for the price of 20 oxen. Laertes respected her greatly, but never slept with her so that his wife would not be angry. Eurycleia loves Telemachus the most. Upon reaching the room, Telemachus takes off his shirt and gives it to Eurycleia. She folds it and hangs it on a peg. Then she goes out and shuts the door, pulling the silver catch and fastening the bolt. Book 1 ends on this scene. Telemachus lies down under his woolen fleece but cannot sleep. He keeps thinking all night about the suggestions given by Minerva and his upcoming voyage. So, friends, this was the first chapter of the Odyssey. We saw how the intervention of the gods, a son growing up, and the breaking of a home all start together. Telemachus has now set out on the path from being a helpless boy to becoming a leader. In the next book, we will see Telemachus's first assembly where he stands before the whole city against these suitors. Will the people of Ithaca support him, or will he end up alone? To find out, watch the next episode on Book 2. In the previous episode, we saw how goddess Minerva, or Athena, awakened a new hope and courage inside Odysseus' son, Telemachus. She pushed Telemachus to act not like a child, but like a man. Today, we will talk about Book 2. The title of this book is Assembly of the People of Ithaca. This chapter is very critical because here we see Telemachus in action for the first time. This chapter is about politics, cunningness, supernatural signs, and an emotional farewell. In this video, we will analyze line by line how Telemachus challenged the suitors in front of the whole city, how Penelope's cunningness or trick was caught, and finally, Telemachus set out in search of his father. So, let us begin. The story starts with a very famous Homeric line. Now when the child of morning, rosy-fingered dawn, appeared. Meaning when the first ray of morning, which Homer calls rosy-fingered, came, Telemachus gets up from his bed. But today, Telemachus is not that sad boy whom we saw at the beginning of Book 1. The text says that he put on his clothes, he slung his sharp sword over his shoulder, and tied sandals on his feet. When he came out of his room, he did not look like an ordinary human. Homer writes, he left his room looking like an immortal god. Just think, the boy who was crying until yesterday is glowing like a god today. This is Minerva's effect. Telemachus immediately orders his heralds or criers to call all the people of Ithaca for an assembly or meeting. This was a very big deal. Why? Because since Odysseus went to Troy about 20 years ago, no official assembly had been called in Ithaca. The system was broken. People started gathering. When the crowd gathered, Telemachus arrived there. He was not alone. In his hand was a bronze spear, and with him his 2 hunting dogs or 2 hounds were walking. Here Minerva showed her magic again. She cast a divine comeliness upon Telemachus, a divine beauty. People were amazed seeing him. When he moved forward, even the elder counselors made way so that he could sit on his father Odysseus' seat. First, an old man stands up whose name is Egyptius. This man is bowed down by the weight of age, bent double with age, and is very experienced. Egyptius' story is a bit tragic. One of his sons, Antiphus, went to Troy with Odysseus but did not return. The narrator tells us that Antiphus was killed by the Cyclops and made into his last dinner. Another son of Egyptius, Eurynomus, was one of those wicked suitors who were looting Odysseus' house. Egyptius asks, "Listen, people of Ithaca, no meeting has happened for 20 years. Who has called us today? Is an enemy coming, or is there a public matter? Whatever it is, I hope Jove blesses him." Telemachus felt good hearing this, that the beginning was positive. He stands up. The herald, Pisenor, hands him the staff or the stick that the speaker holds to give him the right to speak.
Telemachus comes straight to the point. He says to Odysseus, "Sir, I am that man. I have called everyone." Telemachus clarifies that no enemy army is coming. His trouble is personal, but it is so big that it has now become a public issue. He says that at his house,
Two great misfortunes have come. Losing his father, he has lost his father Odysseus, who was not just his father, but like a good father, like king for the whole of Ithaca. The ruin of the house. The second trouble is that the suitors, the relatives and sons of noblemen, want to forcibly marry his mother Penelope. Telemachus' speech is very emotional and logical. He says these suitors do not go to my mother's father Icarius to talk about marriage in a proper way. Rather, they come to my house daily. They slaughter and eat my oxen, sheep, and goats, and drink my wine like water. He explains his helplessness. I do not have the strength like Odysseus to stop them. I am weak, but now it is beyond endurance. My house is heading towards disgrace and ruin. Then he turns towards the crowd and makes them feel ashamed. You are all neighbors. You should be ashamed. At least fear the anger of the gods. At the end of his speech, Telemachus becomes so frustrated and emotional that he throws the staff on the ground and starts crying. The whole assembly becomes silent. Everyone feels pity for him. There is only one man who is not ashamed. That is the leader of the suitors, Antinous. Antinous stands up and shouts at Telemachus. Telemachus, you braggart! You are blaming us, suitors. The fault is not ours. It is your mother Penelope's. Here, Antinous tells a very important story that defines Penelope's character, the trick of the web. Antinous tells that for the last 3 or 4 years, Penelope has been fooling them. When the suitors put pressure for marriage, Penelope said, "My dear suitors, Odysseus is dead, I know, but before getting married, I have to fulfill a duty. My father-in-law, Laertes, is very old. I am weaving a shroud or burial cloth for him. I am weaving a shroud. The day this is completed, I will get married. Otherwise, people will say that such a rich king did not even have a shroud." The suitors agreed. Antinous says, "During the day we saw that she was weaving the cloth with great effort, but at night, by the light of torches, she would undo the work she had done, meaning unpick the stitches." This went on for 3 years. Penelope kept them at bay with her intelligence, but Antinous tells that one of her maids leaked this secret and they caught Penelope red-handed. Now she had to finish that work. Antinous makes a demand. "Telemachus, if you want to save your house, then send your mother back to her father's house. She can marry whomever she wants. As long as she keeps us hanging, we will not stop devouring your house." Telemachus rejects Antinous' demand. His reasons are cultural and financial. Evicting the mother. How can I drive the mother who gave birth to me out of the house? Financial penalty. If he sends his mother back without reason, he will have to pay back a heavy sum to his maternal grandfather, Icarius. Divine punishment. He says that if I did this, my mother, while leaving, would call upon the Erinyes or Furies, the goddesses of revenge, who would destroy me. Telemachus makes it clear, I will never do this. If you want to eat the food of my house, then eat. But remember, I will pray to Jove that he settles the score with all of you. As soon as Telemachus said this, Jove sent an omen or sign. 2 eagles came flying from the mountaintop. They started hovering over the assembly along with the wind. When they were right above the crowd, they suddenly attacked each other. Homer writes that they tore at their necks and cheeks and glaring death into the eyes of them that were below, meaning they showed death in the eyes of the people standing below. Then they flew over the city. People got scared. They did not understand what this meant. Then Halitherses stands up, who was an old prophet. Halitherses gives a warning. People of Ithaca, and especially suitors, listen. This sign is clear. Odysseus is now not far from his home. He will return and bring death or bloody doom for all these suitors. What we said while going to Troy is coming true. Odysseus will return after 20 years, alone and unknown. But the suitor's fear was gone. Another prominent suitor, Eurymachus, stands up and mocks Halitherses. Eurymachus says, "Old man, go home and tell the future to your children. Do not scare us. Many birds fly in the sky. Not every bird has a meaning. Odysseus is dead, and I wish you had died too." Look at Eurymachus's arrogance. He says that he is not afraid of any omen, nor of Telemachus's words. They will stay there until Penelope gets married. After this, Mentor stands up. Keep in mind, this is the real Mentor, not Minerva. When Odysseus left, he had entrusted his house and authority to Mentor. Mentor is more angry at the common people of Ithaca than at the suitors. He says, "I am not so angry at these suitors because they are bad anyway, but I am angry at you people. You are so many and these suitors are few, yet you sit silently and are not defending the son of your good king." But the crowd does nothing. A suitor named Leocritus stands up and ends the meeting, saying that even if Odysseus returns, we are so many that we will kill him. The assembly ends. Telemachus gets no help from the public. He feels lonely. Disappointed, Telemachus goes to the seashore. He washes his hands and remembers Minerva, who had come as mentees yesterday. He says, "Oh God, you told me to go on a journey, but these people are not letting me go." Just then Minerva arrives there. This time she comes taking the form of Mentor, that friend who had just spoken in the assembly. Minerva gives Telemachus a very powerful speech. She challenges his identity. "Telemachus, if you have the blood of Odysseus and Penelope in you, then you cannot fail. Most sons are worse than their fathers, very few are better, but I can see that you have strength." Minerva, in the form of Mentor, assures him, "Forget the suitors. They are fools. They do not know that their death is looming over them. The arrangement of the ship. I am your father's old friend. I will arrange the ship for you myself and accompany you. Preparation. You go home and pack food and drink or provisions, wine and barley meal. I will gather volunteers from the city." Charged by Minerva's words, Telemachus goes back home. The suitors are still partying there and taunting him. "Hey, look, our hero has returned. Perhaps he's going to seek help from Pylos, or maybe he's going to get poisoned to kill us." Telemachus ignores them and goes straight to the storeroom. The scene here is very detailed. In the storeroom, gold, bronze, clothes, and fragrant olive oil are kept. Large jars of old wine are placed along the wall. Homer writes that this wine was unblended, pure, and kept there in the hope that perhaps, if Odysseus ever returned, he would drink it. The storeroom is looked after by Euryclea, who is the most loyal and old nurse of the house. Telemachus says to Euryclea, "Nurse, fill 12 jars of the best wine for me and 20 measures of barley meal in leather bags, but do not tell anyone. I will leave secretly at night. I'm going to Pylos in Sparta to get news of my father." Euryclea starts crying. She says, "My child, why do you want to go? You are alone and this world is very big. Behind your back, these suitors will divide your house and kill you. Please stay here." Telemachus calms her. "Do not be afraid, nurse. This journey is happening by the will of God. Just swear that you will not tell my mother Penelope until 11 or 12 days have passed since I left, or unless she asks herself. I do not want her to mar her face by crying." Euryclea takes the oath and quietly starts packing. While Telemachus was packing, Minerva was busy with other work. She took the form of Telemachus, or disguised herself as Telemachus, and went around the whole city meeting people. She picked the best people and told them to meet at the harbor in the evening, as we have to go on a journey. She asked a man named Noman for a ship, which he happily gave. When the sun set and darkness fell, Minerva launched the ship into the water and had all the stuff loaded. The crew was ready. Now Minerva went back to Odysseus's house. There, the suitors were still drinking wine. Minerva cast a sleep magic or spell of drowsiness on them. Cups started falling from their hands. Their eyes became heavy. Stumbling, they went to their respective homes in the city to sleep. When the house became quiet, Minerva came back in the form of Mentor and called out to Telemachus. "Telemachus, your companions are ready. Come, do not delay." Telemachus and Mentor, Minerva, reached the harbor. There, the crew was waiting for them. Telemachus gives the order, "Comrades, come, let us bring the goods from the house." They loaded all the food and wine onto the ship. Homer tells us that Minerva boards the ship first and sits on the stern or the back part of the ship. Telemachus sits beside her. The crew unties the ropes. Minerva sends a fresh west wind that comes whistling over the sea. Telemachus shouts, "Raise the mast and open the sails." The crew raised the pine wood mast and opened the white-colored sails. The wind filled the sails. The ship started moving forward rapidly, cutting through the dark blue waves. The sound of the water cutting and hissing foam could be heard. When they reached the deep sea, they filled bowls of wine and poured libations or drink offerings for the gods, especially for the gray-eyed daughter of Jove, or Athena. The story ends on this line, that the ship continued on its path all night, waiting for dawn. Friends, Book 2 is not just a meeting and a departure. There are many deep things hidden in it that you should understand. Coming of age and Telemachus's growth. In Book 1, he was passive. In Book 2, he is active. He calls an assembly, speaks in public, and finally takes a risk and goes out to sea. When he throws the staff on the ground, he shows frustration, but when he silences Euryclea, he shows authority. The failure of democracy versus monarchy. The assembly of Ithaca fails. Homer probably wants to show that society does not work without a strong king and Odysseus. The common people or public are cowards, and they are silent before the suitors who believe that might is right. Mentor's anger was about this. Penelope, power, the weaving trick. Antinous' story tells us how smart Penelope is. She cannot fight physically, but her mind is as sharp as Odysseus. Fooling more than 100 men for 3 years is no ordinary thing. The shroud of Laertes is not just a cloth, but her defiance.
Or a symbol of rebellion. Divine intervention versus human effort. Minerva is helping at every step, giving courage, bringing the ship, getting the crew, blowing the wind. But she is making Telemachus do the work. She wants Telemachus to learn himself. This is the core of Greek mythology. Gods help those who help themselves. Omens and skepticism. The arrival of 2 eagles and Halicarnas's prophecy is a classical religious belief. But Eurymachus ignoring it shows how wicked and arrogant the suitors have become. They respect neither humans nor gods. This very arrogance will become the cause of their death. Xenia, hospitality. Throughout the book, the suitors are breaking the laws of hospitality. They are not guests, they are robbers. On the other hand, Telemachus respects Minerva. So friends, Book 2 ends with a hope. Telemachus has escaped the toxic atmosphere of Ithaca. Now he will see the world. His journey is towards Pylos and Sparta, where he has to meet the heroes of the Troy War, Nestor and Menelaus. Will he get news of his father? Will he be able to return and face these suitors? And what will Minerva do next? We will find all this out in Book 3. If you liked this detailed explanation, then like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next episode. In the previous episode, we saw how Telemachus, who is the son of Ulysses or Odysseus, has finally set out on the path of becoming a man from a boy. At the end of Book 2, we saw that goddess Minerva or Athena, who came in the guise of mentor, gave Telemachus courage and helped him escape Ithaca secretly in the darkness of the night. Their mission is to find news of his father Ulysses. Today's story, meaning Book 3, begins with their first destination, Pylos, the city of King Nestor.
Book 3 is very important because here we will see ancient Greek hospitality or xenia, a sun nervousness, and some dark secrets of the War of Troy that Nestor will reveal. So let us turn back the wheel of time and go to the seashore of Pylos. Book 3 begins with very beautiful imagery. Homer writes that the sun, or sun, was rising from the fair sea into the sky so that it could give light to both mortals, meaning humans, and immortals, meaning gods. As soon as morning comes, Telemachus and Minerva, who is still in the guise of mentor, reach Pylos. The king of Pylos is Neleus, son Nestor. Nestor is considered the oldest and wisest hero of the War of Troy. When their ship hits the shore, they see that a very big religious ceremony is going on there. The people of Pylos are gathered on the seashore and are making sacrifices for Neptune or Poseidon, who is the lord of the earthquake. Friends, look at the scale of this sacrifice. Homer tells that 9 guilds were sitting there. In every guild were 500 people, and in front of every guild were 9 black bulls, meaning black bulls, which were being sacrificed for Neptune. Total 81 bulls. People there were eating the inner meat of the bulls, meaning liver, heart, etc., and were burning the thigh bones in the fire for the god. This scene shows how religious and prosperous the people of Pylos were. Telemachus and his crew lower the ship's sails and drop anchor. Now here, Telemachus gets a little nervous. Remember, he's still a young boy who has not seen the world. He says to Mentor, "Mentor, how will I go? How will I start talking? I have never had a long conversation with an elder. I'm feeling shy about how to question such an experienced king." We have all felt this feeling at some point or another, right? When we have to talk to some big man. Minerva, who is the goddess of wisdom, explains to him, "Telemachus, stop fearing.
Some things your mind or instinct will tell you yourself, and the rest, God or heaven will guide you, because I know that since you were born, the gods have been with you." Minerva walks ahead and Telemachus follows her. They reach where Nestor was sitting with his sons. Meat was being cooked, people were busy. As soon as the strangers, Telemachus and Mentor, reach there, the people of Pylos surround them. Here we get to see the biggest rule of Greek culture, xenia, or hospitality. They did not ask who you are or why you have come. No. First, Nestor's son, Pisistratus, comes forward. He holds their hand and seats them on soft sheepskins. He gives them food and pours wine into a golden cup. Pisistratus gives the wine cup to Mentor first because he looked older in age and says, "Sir, please pray to King Neptune because today is his festival. After praying, give this cup to your friend because every human needs God." Minerva is happy hearing this, how well-mannered and sensible Pisistratus is. Minerva, who is herself a god, prays to Neptune. This is an ironic moment. One god is worshiping another god. She prays for the welfare of Nestor and his family and that Telemachus' mission be successful. After that, she gives the cup to Telemachus and he also prays the same. When everyone had eaten, only then did Nestor ask the first question. "Now that our guests have eaten, we can ask who they are. Strangers, who are you? Are you traders or merchants or pirates, sea robbers?" Telemachus, inside whom Minerva had now filled courage, stands up and speaks. "O Nestor, pride of Achaeans, we have come from Ithaca. I have not come for any business. I have come to get news of my father Ulysses or Odysseus. We know about the rest of the heroes of the world, but there is no sign of Ulysses. We neither know if he is alive, nor do we know if he died. I beg you on my knees, tell me the truth. Do not lie to please me." Hearing Telemachus' words, Nestor becomes emotional. He remembers the old days. Nestor says, "Son, you have reminded me of those sorrowful days, how much we Achaeans suffered there in Troy. Our best people were killed there. Great Ajax, Achilles, Patroclus, who was wise like gods, and my own dear son Antilochus, who was the fastest in running and fighting. Nestor says that even if he told the story for 5 or 6 years, the tale of the Achaean sorrow would not end. He tells that for 9 years they tried to take down Troy, but finally in the 10th year, Jove helped them. Nestor gives Telemachus a very big compliment. Your father Ulysses, there was no one to match him. He was ahead of everyone in subtlety or cunning and wisdom. And honestly, when I am listening to you, I cannot believe it. You talk exactly like him. Your speech is exactly like Ulysses. Think how proud Telemachus must have felt hearing this. Nestor now reveals a very important secret about what happened after winning Troy. Often we think that they won Troy and everyone came home, but it was not so. Nestor tells that after sacking Troy, Minerva or Athena was angry with the Achaeans. She caused a quarrel between Agamemnon and Menelaus, who were brothers and leaders. Menelaus wanted everyone to leave for home immediately with the ships. Agamemnon wanted them to stay and perform hecatombs, or big sacrifices, so that Minerva's anger could be calmed. Nestor says Agamemnon was a fool. He should have known that. The mind of gods does not change so quickly. Because of this quarrel, the army was divided into 2 parts. Half the army stayed with Agamemnon. The other half, including Nestor and Ulysses, set out with Menelaus. But the story does not end here. On the way at Tenedos Island, Ulysses' mind changed. He turned back towards Troy to please Agamemnon. Nestor says, I ran from there because I knew that some trouble was coming. Nestor, Diomedes, and some people reached home safely, but Ulysses had turned back, so Nestor does not know what happened to Ulysses after that. Even though Nestor did not know the current news about Ulysses, he gave Telemachus a warning. He gives the example of Agamemnon's tragic death. Nestor tells that when Agamemnon was fighting in Troy, Aegisthus, his cousin, seduced Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra. When Agamemnon returned, Aegisthus killed him by deceit, and Aegisthus ruled for 7 years. But in the 8th year, Agamemnon's son, Orestes, returned, and he killed his father's murderer and took revenge. Nestor looks into Telemachus' eyes and says, you too become like Orestes. You are young, smart. Do something so that the coming generation remembers you. Telemachus replies, I wish the gods would give me enough strength to take revenge on the suitors, but this happiness is not in my destiny. Here, Mentor interrupts. She scolds Telemachus, saying, Telemachus, what are you saying? If the gods want, they can save anyone, no matter how far away they are. I would rather reach home after suffering much pain and be safe, rather than reach home early and be killed in my own house like Agamemnon. Telemachus asks again that when Agamemnon was killed, then his brother, Menelaus was Agamemnon's brother. He was the reason for the Trojan War. Telemachus asks about his uncle Menelaus. He says that why did he not come to save his brother? Nestor explains that bad things happened to Menelaus too. When they were returning, their ship's steersman or pilot died near Athens. By the time they performed his funeral, a storm came. The storm diverted Menelaus' ships, and they reached Egypt. There they gathered a lot of wealth, but it took them many years to come home. He returned when Orestes had set everything right. Nestor gives advice to Telemachus. Son, do not leave your house and property with those suitors for long. It should not happen that they eat everything and your journey becomes useless. If you listen to me, go to Menelaus. He lives in Sparta. He has recently returned from distant lands. Perhaps he knows something about Ulysses. Nestor offers to give Telemachus a chariot and horses and sent his son along to guide him. The sun had set and it was getting dark. Mentor, Minerva, says that now they should go back to the ship to sleep. Nestor gets offended. He says, "God forbid that Ulysses' son comes to my house and sleeps on a ship. I have many blankets and rugs. You will sleep in my palace." Mentor says, "You are right. Telemachus will stay with you, but I have to go back to the ship to manage the crew." And then a miracle happens. As soon as Mentor starts to leave from there, he suddenly takes the form of an eagle or ossifrage and flies into the air. Everyone is left amazed. Nestor's jaw drops. Nestor understands that this was no ordinary human. He holds Telemachus' hand and says, "My friend, I am convinced that you will become a great man, because at such a young age, the gods are with you." This was surely Jove's daughter, Minerva, the same one who used to help your father, Ulysses, too. Standing right there, Nestor prays to Minerva and promises that tomorrow morning he will sacrifice a yearling heifer or a 1-year-old cow for the goddess, whose horns will be sheathed in gold. The most detailed part of Book 3 is the sacrifice of the next morning. Homer has described the step-by-step process here, which is very important for history lovers. As soon as it is morning, Nestor puts his sons to work. One son brings the best heifer or young cow from the field. Another son calls Telemachus' crew from the ship. The third son calls the goldsmith Laerces, who comes with his tools, anvil, and hammer. The goldsmith puts gold on the horns so that the goddess can be pleased. Nestor washes his hands and sprinkles barley meal. Nestor's son, Thrasymedes, stands with a sharp axe. He strikes the cow's neck in one blow and brings it down. As soon as the cow falls, Nestor's wife and daughter scream loudly. This is called ololige in Greek, which is a ritual cry. Then Pisistratus cuts the cow's throat. After the blood flows, they cut the cow, they wrap the thigh bones in fat and burn them in the fire for the gods. The rest of the meat is cooked on skewers. This scene shows how serious a matter religion and sacrifice was for the Greeks. They believed that no work could be successful without pleasing the gods. While people were cooking food, another interesting thing happens. Nestor's youngest daughter, Polycaste, takes Telemachus for a bath. In ancient times, this was common hospitality. She bathes him, anoints him with olive oil, and dresses him in fine clothes. Homer writes that when Telemachus came out of the bath, he looked like an immortal god. Everyone feasts together. After eating, Nestor orders that the fastest horses and chariot be prepared for Telemachus. Nestor's son, Pisistratus, holds the reins, and Telemachus sits beside him. A lot of food and wine is also placed in their chariot. They exit from the great gateway of Pylos. They travel all day. At night, they stop at the house of Diocles in Pheræ, where they receive hospitality again and start the journey again the next morning so that they can reach Sparta, where Menelaus and Helen live. Friends, here ends Book 3 of the Odyssey. In this book, we saw a massive change in Telemachus' personality. Confidence, the boy who was afraid to speak earlier gave a speech before the king. Divine support, he got confirmed that Minerva is with him. Role model, Nestor gave the example of Orestes, which will later inspire Telemachus to fight the suitors. Book 3 teaches us that respect for elders and hospitality are pillars of civilization. Nestor did not have any current information about Ulysses, but he gave Telemachus something else: hope and direction. Now in the next episode, in Book 4, Telemachus and Pisistratus will reach Sparta. There they will meet the biggest reason for the War of Troy, Helen of Troy. And there perhaps they will get that news about Ulysses for which they are waiting. Is Ulysses alive? Does Menelaus know? To find out, watch our next video.